is pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
To return some videotapes. 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 Videotapes.
Welcome back to the Ectoviolence channel and Strange Glow video featuring myself, Alec, and my brother, Justin. Welcome back.
Hello, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm getting chewed up by the cat. They like the danglies off the hoodie here. But
Very nice.
you know, we've been usually doing I've usually been doing Gruesome Tuesdays live, but we recently decided to move the podcast to the channel. So if, this is your first time seeing this, welcome. This is what we do. We've been doing this podcast for 5 years, but we recently just decided to start doing it on this channel because, well, I have more subscribers, and it's just, there's a bigger audience. So we have at least 2 viewers. Say hi if you're in the chat. We like to talk to people.
Yeah, thanks for joining us tonight. So last week was our debut on the Ectoviolence channel for the Strange Glow video show, and we talked about Final Destination.
Yeah.
So in anticipation of Final Destination Bloodlines coming out here pretty soon, tonight we're talking Final Destination 2, which is an interesting flick. Came out in 2003.
Maybe the most iconic of the Final
It's
Destination
got a little
movies.
continuity from the... At least that the logging truck is hands down the most iconic, I would say.
Yeah. Not my favorite, but I do.
I mean,
love
everyone... But I always hear people talking about their lifelong trauma of riding behind a logging truck
100%.
after seeing this movie. So,
yeah, I took some interesting notes. There's I guess we'll get right into it. The opening of this movie, just the the overlaying backdrop of just a bedroom or something, maybe a den. I don't know exactly where it looks like it's not maybe her bedroom, but it looks like it's like the den in the house or something, like a family room maybe. Just like sleeping. You don't even know that she's there really at first. It's kind of not the point of the scene. It's just the opening credits passing over like fans and other, shit, just kind of like the first movie. But this one has like the dialogue talking about the events of the first movie, with the context being that it's a TV show.
yeah, so it really breaks it down, and they reference the original movie a ton. And, you get this whole segment of, the news station talking about the 1-year anniversary of Flight 180, and then obviously the number 180 is mentioned a ton throughout this movie.
Yeah.
Highway numbers, exits, all kinds of stuff. So the 180 number is still very prevalent in this one.
Yeah, so that TV interview just reminded me of one of my earliest memories, which I'm pretty sure I've told you before, at least on the UFO episodes we've done, about being awake in Granny's bed at night at like 5 in the morning, and she had talk radio going, and I'm sure it was like some weird Christian station or something, but it was people talking about being abducted and UFO experiences, and they were like convinced they actually went through them and shit. And it was just like burned into my skull, like waking up at 5 in the morning and then just listening to that for like an hour, staring at the ceiling,
Yeah, that's intense. Certain things stick with you.
I do appreciate the humor in this movie isn't actually terrible when it tries. I do still giggle at the girl joking, being like, yeah, we have everything we need. And her friend walks up, condoms, whips, chains.
Oh, yeah, trolling the girl's dad.
Yeah.
That's
and
pretty...
Like, come on, I'm getting horny.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. And the dad just like, whatever. He does a good job of handling it, not like being a butthead about it, but the next part is like one of those ridiculous movie scenes because like they drive out of the driveway.
Well, I do want to talk about when they leave the driveway. they play the sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Dance with Me. They have a couple. There's like
Was that?
two or three different sounds songs in this movie, actually.
Yeah, didn't they? I think they were like one of the key soundtrack artists for this whole thing. So
For sure. I actually really like the sounds too, so it's fun for me.
yeah, but they see that the dad sees that the transmission fluid's leaking in the driveway, so it's that reddish fluid.
Yeah.
And then he lets him get Lord knows how far away from everything before he tries to call her.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't have fucking waved her down before she left the driveway.
It is
But
pretty funny.
That turns out to not be the problem. But you know,
Right. It
there's
is
way
one of
other.
those things that just gives you more tension in these Final Destination movies and builds stuff up.
Well, they really like to fuck with you in these, man. They really enjoy going out of their way to like pretend like you're gonna die a certain way, and then like, how are they really gonna die?
Yeah. Well, I like that. Like we were talking about this in the last review last week, that sometimes they'll do that, and sometimes it'll just come out of nowhere too,
Mm-hmm.
which is great. I love all of that.
Yeah. Now the only thing is like knowing, and I don't watch these a ton, so. But when they're dragging it out, it's going to be a gruesome death. But some of my favorites are just the quick ones because I'm not expecting them necessarily.
Yeah.
So I'm not like, oh God, I'm just like, just get it over with, just do it.
Right. We'll get there.
But-
Some of these are really good ones too. I think some of the best examples of the series too.
Mhm.
But I will point. I have a couple things pointed out here. The pile up chant from the bus in the kids. The vigil for 180 on the radio, which switches to Highway to Hell. Again, music being very central to these movies, I think.
Yeah.
Which is just funny. Obviously, Highway to Hell, they're all going to die. I mean, it's very
Yeah.
tongue-in-cheek. It's on the nose, but it works. Again, way longer and different than the first time. The events change completely because of her interjecting, essentially. It's like time travel almost.
When I like her looking out the driver window and looking at the kid and his dad in the car, and the kid's crashing two toy cars together, just smashing them over and over, staring at her.
Yeah. Kids are fucked like that, though, so that you really would see some shit like that. You never know. And kid doesn't know what he's doing either. It's just like, haha. Cars bump off of each other.
So
Yeah, let's get to this accident. I got
Yeah,
it
so
in
this whole-
order.
Well, this accident is influenced by a real accident that happened on March 14th, 2002 in Ringgold, Georgia, where 125 cars crashed into each other because fog messed up the visibility down there. So that's kind of like what influenced this gigantic pileup.
Well, that's crazy, too. I didn't even know that part.
Only 4 people died in real life, but I guess 39 people had injuries. So that's pretty fascinating when they, the whole stranger than fiction.
Yeah. How many
can
people died in
appreciate
real
that.
life?
I'm reading 4 here, it looks like.
Okay. I mean, it's like 9 or 10 maybe tops in this one, right? I don't know exactly. But let's get to this accident. So the cop is the first one to be a victim of this shit. And I love it because he's like spilling his coffee on his crotch or whatever. And then he looks up and that thing smashes through there. And it looks so good, just like the blood on the log coming out of the back of the car.
Yeah, it totally impales him, right? So you see the chain break on
It
the
doesn't-
logging
I
truck.
feel like it doesn't even impale him. It just destroys him, man. Like it takes off
Oh,
his
yeah.
head and his shoulders and just turns him into mush. Like,
Yeah, upper torso is just completely gone. I mean, I feel like they could have made that gorier, but for the fact that they wanted a R rated.
are we back?
There you go. I can hear you now.
I lost connection for a minute there, so hopefully our stream
Okay.
will restart up here. Let me see here. Let me refresh my YouTube thing. Let's see here. I think we're live again. It looks like we're back on YouTube, so all right, cool. What were we saying about this accident? So the biker slides and he's smashed by his bike, right? That's
Yeah.
pretty interesting. That's pretty fun. And then I have Coke Dude is hit by the semi,
Okay, yeah.
The businesswoman hits a log and flips.
Mm-hmm.
The mom and the teen blow up because a water bottle goes under her brake pedal, which because of this movie, I don't keep anything under the driver's side of my car over there. Because
Oh,
of
yeah.
that. I'm like, I have seen Final Destination 2. I need to be able to brake.
Yeah.
uh,
Don't let anything on the driver's side floorboard.
the party dude sort of explodes, and then
Yeah.
you get to watch him burn, and I think that's pretty horrifying. Where she like wakes up and has consciousness, and the first thing she sees is this dude just burning alive, screaming for help.
Yeah. And they kind of up the ante here with her because she tends to feel and experience these things that she's having the premonition for. Where in the first one, you don't really get the vibe that you feel as they're just experiencing it like in a dream state.
Yeah, this one's a little different for sure. Then she wakes up and has that whole experience with the cop and everybody, and they end up at the police station.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're pretty upset.
Let me turn the page here. We have that different strokes curse joke. Which is
Yep.
funny. I had to look up what that was. I wasn't super familiar myself. But Gary Coleman, Dana Plato, and Todd Bridges basically just experienced hardship after the show. They were all the child actors who worked on that show, and
Didn't come out of it very well, huh?
no, apparently not. None of them died or anything. But
Well, I guess that's one thing for you.
and then we have the first death scene. Basically,
Okay.
this is the guy going back to his apartment with a new iMac, the lottery winner.
Mm-hmm.
I still have one of those iMacs in storage.
Yeah, I got one of those for when I graduated high school. That's how long ago that was.
Yeah. Pretty sick,
They
though.
called it. It's like the half of a basketball with a moving monitor. That was a damn nice design. Wish they'd bring something like that back in a modern state. Not that you need it to be that big, but just that flexibility.
Yeah, it was pretty sick, to be honest. That swivel was dope.
Mm-hmm.
Looking state of the art, baby.
Well, especially for music. When I was recording music on one of those back in the day, my first interface was a Firewire interface, and that was nice because you could move that display around wherever you wanted. So if you weren't sitting right in front of the computer, you had some options.
Yeah, my first music I ever actually wrote was on one of those, so probably that exact one.
Very nice.
Unlisted says hi. Hello, welcome to the chat.
Yeah.
So he gets there, he puts on his new watch and shit, and he's like heating up Chinese food. Some magnets fall into the Chinese food before he puts it into his little toaster oven.
Well, don't forget that asshole throws that spaghetti out the window to reuse the pan.
Oh yeah, that's there too. And
That's beautiful foreshadowing because it just like splats on the sidewalk.
this is one of the best scenes of like it just building up the tension of like what's gonna kill him. Is it gonna be this? And it's like 400 things that work together to influence his ultimate death. And
I mean, when you're waiting for him to die in that kitchen, you're just like, fucking hurry up and get to it already. But then they fucking troll you and they let him get all the way down that fucking ladder. The kitchen is on fire in 2 different areas. The stovetop, the pan's on fire. There's another fire that breaks out in there.
he sticks his hand
That's an
down the
intense
garbage
one.
disposal to get his ring that he drops
Yeah.
down there, which his new watch gets caught on the thing, and he, for some reason, can't get
It's
out. Usually those things are rubber. I feel like you just pull that motherfucker out.
yeah.
Let's see, they're implying it
Yeah.
got caught on one of the blades or some weird shit, I guess. But
Yeah, I don't
Either way.
know.
But that's a fun one. The ladder right through the eye, and then it kind of cut away from that. Not super gruesome, but super. It's tense.
Well, the best part
I have
is
anxiety
that
while watching it, even though I know it's going to happen.
Well, because they do such a good job of, okay, he survives all this. Like, now how's he going to die? And then that ladder falls down a little bit and it's like close to his face at that point. So that would have to be a very heavy ladder, like just go through his eye. I feel like all he had to do is move his torso just a little bit and he wouldn't have died there.
Yeah.
But they're just showing you this guy is clearly like kind of a dumbass with his decisions. You see how he's living and like it doesn't look like he's doing a good job taking care of himself. And then he wins the lottery. And so, He's out there just fucking being frivolous,
Absolutely.
and then winds up dying like this. And you're like, man, had you just been a little smarter, you wouldn't let that ladder smash your face in. And I like how we get to see his body later too.
Austin Wilcutt in the chat says, I first saw this on that old Infinifilm DVD, which is funny. Infinifilm DVDs, do you remember those? They're like a very small series. I don't know how many they made. I think it might be under like 20 movies that came out on it, and it was like, this is 2003. Austin Powers Goldmember was the movie I had on Infinifilm. If that shows you what year this was happening. And they had like extra special features, and you could insert them into the computer, and there was sorry, my cat's tail. He's sitting on the
Is that what you're trying to do some here?
Yeah. Yeah, but this one I inserted it. I remember inserting it into the family computer we had in the basement, and like it would let you record your voice in place of the lines that were actually in the movie, like almost like you're doing ADR,
okay.
you know?
Yeah.
And it was me doing like Dr. Evil impressions as a 12-year-old.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, for that age range, that's perfect.
But that's pretty cool. I didn't know there was a final. I've like looked up the list of these movies before, but I kind of forgot that Final Destination 2 was one of them that had that release. So I might pick that up just for interesting reasons. But so where are we at? Ladder calendar.
So kitchen death after he dies and gets impaled in the eyes.
Yeah. So then they all see the news of his death, and then fucking what's our main character's name?
Well,
she goes to see. Austin Wilcutt says Nightmare on Elm
and she's
Street
in a
was
padded room, and like they're talking shit on her. There's only one survivor, and she's in there by choice. We find out.
Yeah. Austin Wilcutt says Nightmare on Elm Street was one of the last Infinifilm DVDs. I'd be interested in checking that out too. Are you there?
Nice.
Is our connection all right?
You're coming and going.
Always.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. They go to see Clear. Then we have the dentist scene.
Mm-hmm.
So that one.
The dentist one's pretty intense.
Yeah, that one gives me anxiety too.
Well, I feel like some of these earlier ones are like really going with people's general fears. Like tons of people are fucking deathly afraid of the dentist.
Yeah.
So to do this during all that was interesting. The pigeon thing I thought was interesting. Didn't necessarily love that, but I mean, I get why they're doing what they're doing with it. You know, tons of birds die every year by flying into glass like that.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
'cause it's
Him
too
getting
clean.
smashed by the glass is fun. I like that, but
You think he's going to get hurt in this dental chair. And so this guy goes through all that dental procedure. Like this motherfucker just had a tooth drilled or a cavity filled and dies on his way out of the dentist after that. Like what a terrible waste.
yeah.
Come on now.
They go to see Tony Todd again with Clear.
Yeah. I love him coming back in this and he knows everybody. And then that's where we see the lottery winner's body. Because like they have the eye is missing there.
Yeah. It's always good to see him in these movies. Or anything, to be honest. But this is where he gives that little speech about new life, you know, which kind of fuels the rest of the movie for them. It's funny. He's not.
It doesn't. It doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No. He's basically like, here's the puzzle key you need, but you got to figure out how to use the key. And I like that because, you know, they're going about doing this their own way. Oh, it's going in reverse order. It's trying to close the gap. This, and that's not really what he meant by that at all. So,
yeah.
Which I did appreciate that. I do like that about this movie. It's not just like a obvious ending. So,
yeah. The elevator kill once they've all convened at the apartment there.
Yes.
I think it's a common thing that people are scared of and don't like.
Mm-hmm. Especially
being-
old freight elevators and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, when I lived in the fucking towers over there, man, that was
Yeah.
hellish. I never got stuck in them, thank God, but people did all the time because they were just shitty and old.
Yeah. Cable never broke on you.
It's like you're gonna be killed by a man with hooks or whatever, and they're like, she's in the elevator with that guy with all the fucking prosthetic hooks for
Mhm.
people, and oh my God, it's a very
Well, that's
go ahead.
just so twisted because like she has all these premonitions and she explains them, but like, are you just the worst author or person ever because you can't articulate anything you're experiencing these detailed visions on, and you're like, you're gonna die by hooks? What? It's like very underwhelming her ability to describe these incidents as they're going to happen,
Yeah,
but it works out pretty well. They go to show the motorcyclist as he tries to unalive himself, and not a single bullet goes through. He's basically saying, I'm going to take it in my own hands. I'm not waiting for this. It's my decision.
yeah,
Like, I can get behind that. And then he can't.
which is
You're just
funny as
like,
fuck.
denied. And then the cop's like, oh, those are all duds or something, he says.
Yeah.
So what are the chances of 6? And I'm just like, oh man. Good stuff. There's some intense kills later on though.
Yeah, I think this movie loses it a little bit in the third act, but it picks up again once Eugene and Clear explode in the hospital. The one girl dying in the field is not bad, but
no, my favorite unexpected quick death in there though is the guy that gets torn apart by the fence wiring.
yeah. I think you're frozen on our stream.
Am I?
Might be my fault, but like try pausing and unpausing your camera or something real quick, unconnecting it. It looks like I'm good because I'm looking at the actual YouTube stream, but
Okay. No, my camera shows it's going, but hang on a second. See if I can switch and...
there you go.
Okay.
Updated. Must have just been from
don't know what happened.
the disconnect. My internet must be
Oh,
shitty
yeah.
tonight, I guess. I don't know. Sorry, guys. But
Yeah, I don't...
at least the audio's there. It's like, just compare this to the footage of the Pentagon on 9/11. Except we have audio, and it's better.
Yeah, that's true. We always have better things than that. But yeah, that fence decapitation and basically hacks the body apart reminds me of the beginning of that. What's that, Ghost Ship, that movie?
Oh, yeah, Ghost Ship. I've
That's
talked
what-
about that on this channel before, too.
Yeah, that kill always reminds me of Ghost Ship because like people getting cut apart by wires and getting hacked up by that. I'm like, pretty intense.
Yeah.
To your point, this third act it's got some good kills in it, but it's a little scatterbrained until the very end where like they figure out what's going on. The other near death is when the kid dies and like they don't play too much into it. Like where the was it the cop that moves the kid out of the way or something last second? And that little kid on the farm like survives getting hit by everything else. The one thing on there that didn't super impress me was the whole gas leak and draining down all the way down the hill. And then what's her name dies. And then she drops her blunt and her blunt blows in the wind and ignites. And that's almost clever because it's calling back to the beginning of the movie when the stoners in the car next to her throw the joint out the window. It lands on there and lights up stuff on the hood of her car.
Yeah.
So it's similar to like how she wanted to go, showing that the design sometimes wants to take the same route. But that explosion was a little underwhelming.
Yeah. I think I just might have gotten on my phone when I watched that one this time. Like the rest of the movie had bored me, and then I was like, "Oh shit, I forgot this is going on." You know what I mean?
Well, because they keep going through this hospital thing and like, oh, I know, I found this doctor's name. I got to figure it out. And then it's an interesting concept. I like the concept of like she's got to kill her. You got to die to bring new life, and so they all think that it's the mother, the pregnant mom, and so like, no, she was supposed to live all along. Okay, well, baby gets born and all that, and then she realizes like she's got to sacrifice herself, and then figures out the drowning piece, and then steals an ambulance and drives it in there and essentially drowns, and then they revive her. So
Yeah.
cheating death.
But then we do get the barbecue ending there, which again, like the first movie, kind of, it's like, okay, I like that.
Now the last one, they didn't give you like the full gratification on it.
Yeah.
This one gives you the gratification of like you see this kid go out and whatever he's doing out in the yard completely explodes and his hand lands on the table.
Well, he's going out there to fuck with the barbecue or whatever. The barbecue
Yeah.
explodes and his body explodes. His fucking like leg or arm or whatever it is lands on the table or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
It rules.
Just the fact that it lands in front of his mom and they're all just screaming. I thought that was the better ending of the two. Like, because the other one, just the sign is the implication. The death's implied, not seen.
Yeah.
And then they kill off her boy from the original off screen because a brick fell and hit him on the head.
Yeah, which is a bummer.
I mean, I didn't mind Clear coming back, but Clear's death is underwhelming too in the hospital hallway. You're just like, really? That's how you go?
Yeah. And just out of
Like-
nowhere there.
Yeah. You didn't give her the dignity of having a cooler death than that. They're just like, yeah, this will do. We got to get to the ending here.
Yeah.
Favorite death in this one? Or I guess, what do you find the most disturbing? Like, which phobia like scares you the most?
I think the dentist one is the most fucked up just because you're like not able to do anything, but also like the elevator one's maybe the most fucked up kill, I think. But then
Yeah.
I do like the lottery guy is like,
Yeah. It expanded the concept.
yeah.
Like I said, these aren't like out of horror franchises from around this time. Like, I watched Scream a lot more than I watched any of these.
Yeah. And it's like you forget. I
and-
associate these a little bit more with the late 90s and early 2000s, but like you forget, I mean, it was 2000, 2003, 2006, I think 2009 and 11 maybe. Like almost all of them
the
came out
third
in
and fourth?
2000. Yeah. The third
Yeah.
one was 2006. I know that much.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's a good franchise for sure. I'm excited to see what this new one does.
Yeah, it'll be
You
fun.
know, are they going to go down there?
Go down
But
there.
yeah, the first one. Oh, I just mean, like go down and is it going to do anything new? Is it going to go down as better or worse than the other ones? Because it's been a while since they've done one of these now.
Well, they're calling it Bloodlines, and it's supposed to be connected back to like if I don't know if you've seen the trailer, but it shows like a disaster that happens in like one of those sky restaurants, but it happens like in the 60s
Oh,
or
okay.
something. And then it follows the bloodline of the family essentially from that event. Like that bloodline shouldn't exist essentially. That's the vibe I'm getting from this one. So it
okay.
is interesting. It's like it's going to be fucking generational and shit. Perhaps be very interesting with that. I'm interested. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could be very unique and something fresh. Because I think, they ran through a ton of these things. And, I mean, granted, if you get a good writer, you can do some cool shit, so you don't have to worry about all that. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping this one's better than some of them.
I
I don't know. I think this one, the beginning of this one, I think is my favorite opening out of any of them.
Mhm.
And by that, I mean the disaster setup, I think is pretty solid.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, I know it's iconic. the airplane crash is interesting, but like we talked about last time, I think post 9/11 that really fucked with a lot of people, um, in weird ways. But I do think the car crash one is just terrifying because we're out there driving every day,
Right.
so that's a little more terrifying to me in real life. Like I don't fly all that often, and I don't have any fear of flying. But that's not that I'm afraid of driving either. But just driving as much as I do, the likelihood of being behind a logging truck and getting fucking taken out is a whole other thing.
Yeah. Well, it's like the third one's a roller coaster. The fourth one is a NASCAR event. The fifth one is a
Mhm.
bridge collapsing.
Yeah.
It's very, I don't know. Like some of them are scarier than others. I think the car crash is definitely the most relatable, everyday fear.
Yeah, and then even the premonition of the car crash is terrifying, and then the way it really plays out is cool too.
Yeah.
But like that's always the most expensive shots in those movies, just because there's so much. You're actually doing all this stuff twice, and they're doing a lot of practical effects for this stuff, and a fair amount of CGI as well. They said they had real trees that they used in the beginning of this, and they didn't have enough bounce, so they actually wound up replacing some of that with CGI completely.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah,
I do think it's really cool how you think that like she's gonna save her friends. Like
mhm.
if you haven't seen this movie, you're like, under the impression that it's going to be about her and her friends, like it kind of was in the first one. It's not his friends, but it's like a group of teenagers, essentially,
Yeah.
and a few other people, the teacher and whatnot. But this one's like, no, we're going to take those motherfuckers out right now.
Yeah, that was a bold choice, I think, and that stands up well, but when you think about it, her girlfriend was like pretty funny in there. Like backseat, you're just like you never really develop a relationship with them that you want them to be okay or have any sympathy for.
Yeah.
So you're just like whatever. And then it is pretty shocking because you think that they're all going to survive with the cop, and then the cop pulls her out of the way when that SUV gets hit. So,
Yep.
and that leaking transmission turned out to not be a problem. So, who knew? Yeah. So that's Final Destination 2.
Indeed, it is. Again,
I gotta say, I like. I mean, I just like these first two so much. They're pretty good.
I hope you'll feel that way.
Third,
when we
fourth,
watch
and
the
fifth, I
third
just
one.
feel like. Yeah, I'm hoping so too. I need to go through and kind of figure out the game plan to get through all these and see the rest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy too, because the roller coaster derails. I remember that when that happened at a roller coaster here in Kansas City.
Yeah.
No one at a roller coaster here in Kansas City.
Yeah.
No one died, but they're like just dangling from the cars for hours while they had to wait for rescue to get over there to be able to get them.
Wild.
That was on the Orient Express at Worlds of Fun. That ride has since been demolished. They use the old coaster entrance pad and docking station now to store Halloween stuff.
Interesting. You're like a Disney
let's see.
adult, but with Worlds of Fun knowledge.
Yeah, I know tons of the Worlds of Fun shit just because it's been something I've always gone to. Yeah, I hope Final Destination 3 is pretty good. I don't really remember shit about this one.
It stars, Mary Elizabeth Winstead from, Scott Pilgrim and the Thing remake. The third, the second Thing
Okay,
remake
yeah.
from 2011, which was really
Yep.
a prequel. But she's in some other stuff too, like some other horror movies. I like her. I think she's married to Ewan McGregor.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I think the concept sounds great there.
Yeah, there's some fun.
Interesting. So Tony Todd, does he not play
No, he does a cameo.
Same character as he did.
That's just a voice cameo in this one. 3.
Okay, so he does a voice cameo as the train conductor and as the devil.
Yeah, basically like the devil.
Interesting.
They have like a animatronic devil outside the roller coaster.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah,
All right.
pretty good stuff though. She like sees her
Yeah,
visions
no, I'm
through
excited to-
pictures and stuff. Yeah, it's cool. I like it.
Yeah, I need to watch the Bloodlines trailer again yet, but it's one of those that like, if it's something I'm super super into fandom wise, I'll watch the trailer a bunch. But sometimes if it's something like this, it's kind of a casual interest. I don't want to overdo the trailers just so I don't know everything that's going on in the movie. So I'll probably watch it once and then try to forget it until the movie comes out.
Yeah, I talked briefly about it, I think, in a video. I don't even remember at this point. I put in a lot of videos, but the initial one.
Yeah, we talk about. Oh, apparently there's novels for these.
Was unaware of that. Like novelizations.
Just looking up. 6 films, 10 novels, and 2 comic books. Interesting. Okay.
Fascinating.
Wasn't aware of all that, so dig into some of that stuff here, see what's what. So Bloodlines is coming out May 16th, so that's coming right up. So I think we're going to do 3 and then what, 4 and 5 will.
You there? You alive?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my thing is cutting out again. Either way,
I'm
maybe
here.
Maybe I'll do some things to try to improve my internet before next week's show, but that is about it for this week's. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's plenty of other stuff going on. So I think next week we'll do 3, and then after that, are we going to just do 4 and 5 as one episode?
we can do that, yeah.
Yeah, sounds good to me. But yeah, thanks for tuning in and joining the live stream tonight. Sorry about all the issues, but you know, it's technology. It's shit happens, man.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Good night.